if you do not put aside anything, if you don't put a minimum of 12 to 15 billion naira, you can't even begin to survive.
12 to 15 billion naira.
Yes. If you don't put that, that's...
To run.
You're just scratching the surface. Politics.
Good morning and welcome to Untold Stories with Adesuwa.
Welcome, Adesuwa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For everyone watching, I'm here with Mr. Tonye, a two-time gubernatorial aspirant for Rivers State and the co-founder and one-time group executive director of Sahara Energy, Sahara Group, rather.
Sahara Group.
Yes.
In political parlance, they call it two-time candidate.
Two-time candidate.
And not an aspirant.
Two-time candidate on the APC platform.
The APC platform.
Yes,
right.
in 2019 and 2023. Yeah. Fun fact, I actually worked for Sahara Group.
No way.
I did for three very short months. I ran away. But I actually worked for your company after you had resigned as group executive director and gone into politics.
That's why I didn't see you.
That's why you didn't see me.
Oh, well.
But
Sahara is an interesting place.
It is. And now
push people hard.
It was fun. It was a fun time.
It was.
So I wanted to ask what inspired you actually to go into politics and if it had anything to do with your dad, because your dad was an ambassador.
Interesting question. I never thought about it that way, but there's some residual influence regarding that. So I grew up listening to people like Shehu Musa Yaradua, my father, Chuba Kadibu, George Obiozo, people like that. And thinking about it, back then they were in their late 30s. And they used to come to the house, my father's house, or they go to Yaradua's house. And then you were allowed to be seen but not heard. And I would sit in a corner and they would all be there smoking, smoke-filled room. But what they used to talk about was primarily Nigeria. Nigeria was the topic, politics from one end till end. And it had to do with either the military regime, transition to politics, and all of that. So it must have played somewhere in the back of my mind that the whole Nigeria project was a project that young men at that time took very seriously. Very, very seriously. Their lives were at risk. So yes, that may have played a part, definitely played a part in shaping my patriotism towards Nigeria. Getting into politics was a totally different subject. And that came out of more out of a long-term frustration of just seeing that having set up Sahara, traveling the world, I was always held back by two things. The first aspect of it was that we were judged as Nigerians anywhere we went. And so that always put us under the table. And when I thought about it, why were we judged consistently as Nigerians? It had everything to do with the politics and the governance and what people saw. And then I realized the second aspect of it was each time we moved forward as business, we saw that politics affected every single thing that we did. And so...
It's so interesting. I watched an interview you did maybe a decade ago now with Keith Hyde, and we go talking about the worst day. Yes, talking about your worst day in business. And you said something curious. You're like, you decided in Sahara that you no longer wanted to be beholden to one country or one policy, that the government can wake up any day
and destroy you. Absolutely.
Do you think that's still true today?
Absolutely. So I ask people when I test this, especially to the younger generation, and how influential governments can be. And I say to them, name the biggest, strongest Nigerian entrepreneur business. And most people would say, naturally, or Dangote, Forbes, the richest man, and so on and so forth. And I asked them the next question. If the government decided that they wanted to go after Dangote and just make sure that it does not, then how long do you think it would take? And I think the most that I've heard people say is that it will not last 6 months. Man, that's frightening. So if you can destroy a company as big as Dangote and an individual as influential as he in 6 months, then it tells the kind of challenge that we have. And so, yeah, I still believe so.
Do you think that is why a lot of successful businessmen are so tied into Nigeria's politics?
No, I think a lot of successful businessmen are so careful about Nigerian politics. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be seen as being against the government of the day. And so they play very careful in this terrain. And I think I understand it from where I come from. I don't fully agree with it, but I understand it from a business perspective. But what I have seen both from a business and political angle is that it's almost like cutting your nose to spite your face. You're trying to save something, but at the end of the day, you come out looking very ugly.
Okay, so taking that into consideration, how did your partners feel when you said that I am going to venture into partisan politics, I am going to run for governor of Rivers State, and I'm sure Sahara has assets in the region. So how did your partners take it?
So at first they didn't like it at all. It was a very, very, very tough decision. It was a hard decision for me to make because I understood all of these things and I knew the risk that I was putting the company as Sahara into taking that decision. For them, I had to let them know, first they were not happy at all, and so I had to put certain things in front. And the first thing I said was that I'm removing myself completely from Sahara. I would resign from Sahara, move myself out of it, so that it will not and it should not impact on Sahara as a company moving forward. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do because I knew that here I was risking or putting at play now everything I had built for a vision of a Nigeria that I was hoping on. So it was a tough one, both for me and for them. But I think the sacrifice I made by pulling out of Sahara completely was something they appreciated in the end, because they knew that here I was thinking about Nigeria, but also giving up everything that I had built for a bigger purpose. If it works, well, great. If it doesn't work,
Well, how do you feel now?
How do I feel? Okay, so in taking that decision, I had to look at a long-term plan. And I said this was going to be a 20-year journey. Okay. At the time, I think I'd done Sahara for 23 years. And I'd looked back and I said to myself that if this was going to be worth it, then how much time would I have to put commensurate to what I had done before to actually see the result? And so I can look back and compare. I've done 6 years now, so I have 14 years to go. Okay. In the 6 years, I have made a lot of progress politically. There's still a long way to go. The next 14 years it will come fast. It will come very, very fast. But I think we're on the right track.
So speaking of Sahara, the current Minister of the FCT, Nyesom, Wike, last year or 2 years, I believe, came out and challenged you and your relationship with the former governor of Rivers State, Mr. Honorable Rotimi Amaechi, saying that you had a $50 million deal where money went from Rivers State coffers to Sahara's coffers.
Account for the $50 million they took from our account. Whoever knows him, tell him $50 million taken from River State access account to Sahara account. And I asked them, what is the job you did for River State? Can I see the contract paper? The people will loan us money. $50 million. Those of you who know mathematics, calculate it. You see, you think you can sell this state. The former governor think that he can bring his business partner. After he has sold all our gas turbine, Olympia Hotel, collected our $50 million cash. You come and be the governor. You will come and account for the money first here. People think I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Calm down. I will catch all of them small. I mean, people think that we are just here, you come and sell our state. Nobody can sell this state. Nobody can make this state to be his personal estate. Nobody. Nobody. A governor must be somebody who wants to develop this state. Not somebody who wants to put this state in your pocket the way you want it. No, it's not going to work that way. God will not allow it. They're not for 40 young boys thinking that they can take everybody for granted and overrun a state. Not while I'm a governor of this state. You can do it when another person is a governor. Not while I'm here. You are not running for National Assembly. You are not running for State Assembly. You went and brought Curtis to the party secretariat to destroy the party secretariat. And as a governor, as a leader of the party, I should fold my hand and see a criminal and illiterate overrun my party. And they arrested the Curtis. And the same young man had the temerity to call police to release his boys. He has admitted that the boys who are Curtis that came to destroy the party secretary are his boys. So, since he said that his boys, I declared him wanted. Somebody said, whose power do you have? I'm the chief security officer. And somebody who cannot even get ticket of his party, whom I defeated since 2015. He thinks if he abuses me, they will give him ticket. They didn't give him ticket. I think that this Opobo boy, what's his name? You know, you think if you abuse Wike, they will give you ticket. Now you have abused me, your master refused to give you ticket. Your master refused to give you second time and the master. Now they are promising they will make you minister. Who will be president that you make minister? I will be the president of Nigeria, so I can't make you minister.
Do you want to talk a bit more about that? Because you addressed it before. You said it's all public and you haven't faced any charges about it. But how did you feel about the muddying between like politics and business?
So one of the things that I was advised about politics coming in was that they would use any and everything to try to damage your integrity. If you have anything in any skeleton in any cupboard anywhere, it will be brought out. And so make up your mind if you're going into politics about two things. One, that you either don't have skeletons, and so whatever comes out, you're okay, or you really don't care. They can call you anything and all of that. Now, I have built a name and a business based on clear integrity, and over time, we've always kept excellent records within Sahara. We face panels, probes, any government that comes in, the first thing they'll do is they'll drag you before the Senate and all of that. And I learned as far back as when we were in our third year, I think that's the first time that we lost an administration one to another, or even going into...
When was this?
So between 1996, when we started, and 1999, when the first government, the military...
Fourth Republic.
Yes. The first thing that happened was that there was a major probe that came in over everybody in the industry. But I'd learned a bit more on that my worst day interview with Peace Hyde about the value of keeping records. And that was from my former company in Brazil. So I'd learned that. So we keep good records. And I make sure that everything is watertight. So to this contractor that Nyesom was talking about, it was just political. We kept absolutely clear records, and there was nothing there. So I always said to him, then, show the records. Don't just, it's one thing to get up and accuse, but look at everything he did. He never once came out and brought a record out to say, this is the evidence that I have about what I'm saying. All he did was get up and make the accusation using his position as a governor to make that, understanding that people will believe that, you know what, he's a governor, so he must have some evidence. Yeah. He could never bring one shred of document. And I was waiting for that. Bring the document out. And the day you bring all the documents out to say that this is what I have, then the whole world will know immediately that there was nothing in it.
Well, that's fair enough. So you've spoken about keeping good records, but you've also spoken in the past about keeping good relationships.
Oh, beautiful. We have to.
You have to. I'm talking about a relationship with the former governor Nyesom Wike, because I believe I watched an interview where you were talking about how in River State you can go to church and APC people will sit on one side, PDP people sit on one side. Is that still true now with all the party hopping and skipping?
No. So while there's been a lot of progress in Rivers politics in one way, you've also seen a deterioration in another. When I went into politics, I saw this absolute division and deep hatred of people who grew up together. And so there would be this division, there would be nobody talking, it was really, really bad. And it was something that I felt was detrimental to the state. And so I very deliberately would go across the aisle and I would go and shake the hands of whoever is an opponent in the other party. I just refused to toe that line. And I think 6 years later, when I look at the dynamics at play, that position I took of refusing to play in that kind of box has engineered a peace within the state where people actually now go to parties of other political, they go to functions of other political parties, which never used to happen. So we've made progress there. Now, maybe that has opened up what we're seeing now, that nobody has a party anymore, everybody's in different parties. I don't know, but that's a new dynamics in politics that 2023 has birthed.
I mean, we do have you're an APC man, right?
I am APC.
Are you loyal to the party?
I haven't left APC. I'm still in APC. I was always in APC.
And you don't plan to leave the APC?
No, I don't think so.
So the lawmakers that have now, the over 20 lawmakers that have now joined the River State APC, are they part of? Did you welcome them in with open arms?
By the time all of that was happening, we were seeing a totally different dynamics in APC. Now we didn't know whether you're APC, PDP, APC. There's so much going on in the university that it's a lot of confusion. Nyesom Wike's group of PDP had come somewhat into APC, but were not APC. The party was handed over to that group of APC. And so, as we speak today, there are two branches of APC in River State. It's all very fluid. So now they left PDP, and there's an ongoing case. I don't know whether that's been resolved, because when you leave a party, then have you vacated your seat?
Yes.
So Nigeria is an interesting place.
Yes, there have been some judgments against the legislatures that have
done that in the past.
Yes, but also now. But the cases are still being appealed and still being legislated upon.
So it's such an interesting play, because you would see something that should be precedent, and you would think that this is how it should be. And some very interesting judgments will come out that would tell everything.
Is that politics or is that our judicial system?
I don't know. But now, when I think about it, I grew up in the house of judges. I have so many family members that were in law, attorney generals of federations and all of that. So I used to believe, and I use that word used to believe, that once a judgment has been written and has been kept down, that you could stand on that judgment as precedent and you would die on it. I think I've come to learn that precedent is not sacrosanct.
Yes.
It's not, no way. So anything happens.
It seems to go against the notion of common law and case law and everything you learn in law school in Nigeria, some of the judgments that we see coming out. But I often say that I feel like our sense of trust in our systems and our institutions are weakening. And do you believe, especially coming from the last election, people's trust in INEC, in the judiciary, do you think it's weakening? And
I think it was severely damaged, not just weakening. I believe it was severely damaged. With each generation that comes through, one of the things that I've seen, from a personal perspective, coming in, I've spent a lot of time trying to encourage the next generation to be a lot more interested in politics over the years. I started doing this even before I went into politics, and telling them from what I see that not being interested in politics is detrimental to you today and your future. And so as we were getting into the last election, we started seeing a heightened interest in what was happening, and people paid more attention to Nigerian politics. That's the younger generation,
yes.
young people. And that is good. I was happy to see that. I remember the APC primaries, right? Nigerian youth across board probably watched that primaries more than they watched anything else. They stayed focused, they were watching it, they were interested in who would come out of it and all of that.
We were watching it like it was Big Brother.
It was Big Brother that day. It was, and people were calling. So I knew people, and it stayed, we were there till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. People stayed awake watching it. So there was this interest, and that interest continued all the way to the election. There was a belief in beavers, INEC, and so on, so that was heightened. And then whatever happened, happened. Now, today, most people, I'm finding it very difficult to get people re-engaged into politics. So I knew it was damaged. But is it hopeless? No, it's not.
I actually want to pull you back to those APC primaries.
Go ahead.
How was it watching the primaries and all the candidates started stepping down, this idea of a consensus candidate, and your former governor, and so I believe you have a good relationship with Honorable Amechi, did not step down. How was it for you? Were you a delegate?
I was. Yeah, so I was there.
Yes.
So I was there throughout that process, and one of the things that we have to appreciate about politics is that there's always a give and take. But I personally believe that any competition is made more. It's made more viable, more credible once there's opposition. So imagine if every single person stepped down and everybody just said, you know what, this is the way. There'll be a sense that something is not quite true about this. What gave that primaries the authenticity that it came out with was the fact that both Rotimi Amechi and the Vice President, former Vice President Atiku took it all the way to the end. And so there was a competition that happened, and that competition brought out the president. And because of that, it legitimized straight away the fact that he ran, he competed, and he had to get a coalition to win. And for me, that's what politics should be. The quality of the opposition that comes into any race will make that race legitimate or not. So I was fully in agreement with the fact that it had to be a competition.
I want to relate that to your own primaries, because it was, some people argued, especially Senator Magnus Abe, that you were imposed upon the party by Rotimi Amechi, that there was no competition. Do you see it differently?
Absolutely. So there are 2 times that I ran, and so the first time I came in, I came into a party that was one family organized, and my coming in then was as a result of an infighting that was breaking up the party between Magnus Abe and the Dakuku faction and all of that. And I remember that I was drafted in more like saying that, you know what, we're having a problem within this family, and anyway, if you go this way, it's going to split the party that way. If you go this way, it's going to split the party this way. And let's bring in somebody who is neutral and who can play a neutral role in bringing and reconciling everyone. I think I was naive enough at the beginning to believe that people's desire can be for winning or for power can be managed by third parties coming in. So it didn't work. So at that first time, I remember Magnus then being so upset about the entire thing. And what he said was that I was being imposed on the party. Okay. So I left that. That first one went through, we didn't compete and all of that, and left. This second round, no. Not only was the entire system. I had to essentially win over an entire system that wanted only pure politicians. So for me, this one, my primaries was an election in itself. To come out, to emerge, and it was tough.
What was the toughest part?
Okay, so the primary started off first by, there was already a decision, that it should be a Riverine candidate coming out this time. And so there's a dichotomy in River State, Upland, Riverine.
Can you explain it a bit more for people to understand? Because you're Calabari, right?
I'm Calabari.
So what are the Riverine tribes?
Okay, so for the larger Nigerian context, when you hear an Ijo, so the Ijo nations and all of that, those are Riverine people. And for those who have any kind of understanding of River State, when you hear the Queries or the Ogonis, those are Upland.
Okay.
Upland means that they're not, the larger percentage of their territory is on land.
Okay.
For the Riverine, the larger percentage is water.
I heard they give birth to you guys in the water. And you have whiskey as your first drink. So they didn't give birth to you in the water.
But we should all know how to swim, at least.
Okay.
But that's a myth. But so that's the Riverine. For some reason, between 1999 and up until 2019 and again in 2023, what we had seen was that the Upland part of River State had run. So it was going 24 years or something like that, where the Riverine communities had not run. So for kind of equity and all of that, it was decided that it should go Riverine. But my Riverine people are very interesting people. So going Riverine also meant that it was then open for any and everyone. And so we tried to have a consensus. So one of the first things that we said amongst ourselves was that, okay, look, there are, 12 or 14 of us who are running, and that let's have a consensus. And we sat down, press conference, agreed that anyone who is selected amongst us, elected or whatever it is, we agree. As a consensus, they would back it. Okay. So the political intrigues behind the scenes started, negotiating this, that, and all. I was, for me, watching the entire thing play, I knew that I was not their favorite candidate because I'm not what you would call a typical politician. And they had decided that, this must go to a typical
What's
politician.
atypical?
A typical politician is somebody who has been in politics all his life, started off in the ranks of politics, started with first was a bag-carrying person for a local government chairman, then became local government chairman, then became a commissioner, then became this, and became that.
Rose through the ranks.
Rose through all the ranks of politics, was a card-carrying member from the day he could speak and all of that. And here he was coming from the line of business and then coming into politics and all of that. So you had all of that. For me, it didn't bother me. It wasn't really what the issue is. I knew what I was doing coming into politics. But I think what then happened was that when the decision was made and I emerged as the candidate, some people were pretty shocked about it.
I want to say, even in your explanation to this, I don't know how we went from they don't want an atypical politician to emerge. Because I also think and correct me if I'm wrong, River State's politics does not seem like a game of gentlemen.
No, it's not.
I've seen a video, I believe, where they were throwing bottles at you.
Only bottles have been shot at, bombs thrown at me, dynamite, all sorts of things. So no, it's not for gentle people. And
and even considering all these things, you are trying to get more people inside, like politics for the sake of actually attracting sensible people or maybe gentler people. So I want you to explain how you emerged.
Okay. So one of the things that you would find when people are very determined amongst themselves that it's me or nobody else, then you can take advantage of that. And this is what I saw in the room. People had essentially determined that I'm not me now, that they're the ones who are running. And you had all of these little cliques, and everybody was building a camp. And River State at the time was so divisive that it's a Machiavellian type of politics. Winner takes all. No, there's no mercy to anyone else. Winner takes all. I think for me, the strategy that I played going into that was to watch it and just say that, you know what, the minute you identified as having a camp and winner takes all, then you fall into the same rank as everyone. And so it then would be the person who has the biggest group of people taking it all, and everybody is out. So I stepped back from that. I have a camp, I'm a camp kind of person, and instead played on the sentiments of everybody to say that, you know what, where everybody has a camp, I'm your best bet, because I can work with any one of you. I'm okay to work with any one of you. So each person went into the meeting almost like when the Pope is made a Pope, and they were all waiting for this white smoke. And each person had a group that was to fight their own cause. There was a lot of lobbying and all of that. And so we all stepped out. And inside that meeting was a battle that if I give it to this person, then I'm out. If I go this way, I'm out. In that confusion, they then came out with this, that, okay, you know what? The only person that does not have a group that will cut all of us out is Tonye. And so let's go with him. And that's how I came out. And by the time I came out, it was like, how did this happen? Now, so I then emerged as a consensus candidate based on that, based on that kind of consensus. But now it was a consensus that was not an acceptable consensus, because they didn't see me coming. So here I was now, and then next minute, a few of them now said, no. We had agreed before on a consensus candidate. We're now not agreeing. We're now going to go to the primaries. That now became another race for me, and it was okay. I said, all right, now we're going to the primaries. Now we have to deal with primaries. So now we have the kind of scenario that Bola Tinubu, President, and others had. But we now went to primaries. I came out of the primaries. So what you saw there was a legitimization of your consensus. Of my consensus.
Candid. So how expensive is that?
Politics. I found myself that I started spending towards all of this in January 2022. The primaries, and that was when, for me, looking at it, the elections were going to hold in the elections were going to hold in 2023. My experience began January 2022 towards all of this, including the primaries. It was very expensive. I think there are three phases of expense that you have to pay. The first aspect of it is getting to the primaries and coming out as a candidate. Quite a bit of money.
Round figure.
Quite a bit of money.
Round figure.
Quite a bit of money.
Because I feel like everyone is very hush-hush about the cost.
No, it's too expensive.
Of politics.
It's too expensive. And you see, there are some states that are just way, way, way too expensive. And River State is one of them, right? What I can tell you is that your entire campaign, the entire thing from beginning to the end, judiciary and all of that, if you do not put aside anything, if you don't put a minimum of 12 to 15 billion naira, you can't even begin to survive.
12 to 15 billion naira.
Yes. If you don't put that, that's...
To run.
You're just scratching the surface. Because there are three phases. So the first aspect of it is primaries. You get through the primaries. After the primaries, you now have to come to the campaign itself. In River State, I was dealing with going against a governor who had more money than anything. I was ready to spend it. And they were spending left, right, and center. If I have one billboard, apart from all some Machiavellian traits of ensuring that you don't have a billboard, they block you here, there are all sorts of games that are playing. But even if you have one billboard, on that same street, you will see the government spending, and you will see 15 billboards on the other side. So you are competing against a lot of money. If I have one interview on channels, on that same day, they can have 10 for 4 hours, 5 hours. And so all of this makes it extremely expensive if you're trying to compete money for money, because they raise the bar to let you know that, look, we have money, you don't have. And if you want to meet us in terms of speaking, publicity out there, then you must be ready to spend. Your 10 billion and your 15 billion just barely scratches the surface. That's campaign. And then you have judiciary, which is a totally different ballgame. I took mine to the Supreme Court. It was not a joke at all.
What, can I also ask you why?
For two reasons. I think the first thing I realized is that every day I met people who saw me and they never believed that anyone can just face this type of government.
And live to tell the tale.
And live to tell the tale. They never believed it. And so there was a need to let people know that whatever you start, take it to the end and just give them a belief and hope. I needed to do that. It was very important. Then secondly, from where I come from, right? If there's one thing that has always been said, used against my people, was that, and they go into politics so that they can increase their sale value. Okay?
Like, I don't know what you mean.
Very simple. So, you're an aspirant. Okay? Let's start with aspirant. And just before the time for the candidacy, the person who wants to win would come and give you some money. And so you've made enough money, you've paid for whatever adverts you've done.
Yeah.
So it's a commodity. Politics becomes a commodity. So you win. You make some money, you step back. That's if you're in a major party. Or you go to another party, you name any small party, you become a candidate. As a candidate in that party, you become, again, a commodity. The larger party comes to you and they pay you off, right? They buy you such that you say, my party and I were now in support of this other person. Again, it's another commodity. So you have all of this commodity trading within politics going on and on and on and on. You run for the election and you go to court. And you start at court. That's another commodity. Now you have spent for primaries, you spent for the election,
and they now pay you.
They now pay you off again.
So not even just the alleged paying off of the judiciary, but there's alleged paying off of smaller candidates.
All the time. So again, we call it...
That rot is deep in our system.
So now it depends on where the moral standing is of whoever is going. To politics, it's all, to the politicians in the room, it's all part and parcel of politics. Okay, it's almost like how within business and all of that, you're competing and all of that, and you can go to somebody and say that, you know what, let me buy off your interest and all of that. And I buy off your interest and you move on and I continue doing my business. So this is as everyday business, it's normal. But then the issue here with politics is a bit different for those, again, it depends on your moral standing. The day you choose to go into politics, what you are saying to people is that believe in what I believe in and come and give me your mandate to represent you. Now, if I use your mandate of representing you and I settle myself using your mandate, then I've really abused that trust. It was always believed that we would always sell out. Once you start that, somebody will come and negotiate you. And I said, no, I don't need it. Let us get to the end of this one. So for me, it was very important, extremely important that we got to the end.
Okay. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask, because of the dynamics of this last election, it was rumored that the APC Rivers candidate, which is yourself, was supporting the PDP presidential candidate, which was Alhaji Abubakar Atiku. Was that truth in that?
No, that was just rubbish politics. at a particular point in time...
So you do not support Atiku?
No. Why? We went to campaign. I paid for the campaign of all my campaign. I paid for the presidential election rally that happened in Rivers State. I paid for that. The APC was giving money to different candidates, and I called them and I said, you don't need to give us money. We will pay for it. I paid for that, brought them in, mobilized the people that would come. So I would do all of that on money, and then we won't support it. So when there was, as far as I was concerned, there was an opportunity that was seen by the current FCT minister, and he saw that opportunity and decided to take the opportunity. But to take that opportunity, he needed to say that we were not supporting and all of that. And my word against your word, whoever you believe. And so it was done. But again, they will tell you that that's politics. It's one of the things that happens in politics. Some win, some lose. And that's it.
So what happens if he joins the APC?
Till then, when people ask me that question, I say, I don't think he's playing a role which is it's an open secret to everyone. It's not hidden. The role that he plays in PDP right now is to weaken PDP to such an extent that that the opposition to APC moving forward is no longer there. PDPs are well fit, everybody's aware of it, APCs are aware of it, he's aware of it. Nobody is holding that secret, it's all there. But somehow, it amazes me when I think about it that it doesn't seem as if PDP wants to do anything about that. So it's across. I just don't understand.
It's across the bear.
It's across the bear.
There's a certain belief that the drama that is going on between the current governor, Fubara, and his predecessor, Wike, has led some of the stakeholders in Rivers State to actually align behind the current governor, stakeholders like former governors Amechi and Peter Odili.
Of your people are with you. And they've asked me to tell you that you are the political leader of Rivers State. Rivers people say, where you go, we will go with you. Where you stand, we will stand with you. You are standing on firm ground. Stand there. Hold on to God. The rest of the journey will be a piece of cake.
Do you think there's some truth to this?
That's something that you would have to ask them. Wherever you see political alignments, there's a lot more that you don't see going on. And I think each individual who takes a decision as to who I would support and all of that, if they will be truthful, will tell you that it's a lot more than you see. But would there be alignment in politics between a governor and former governors or ex-governors? It's a normal thing. Even presidents that have left office 20 years ago still have alignment.
And the alignments are always shifting.
They say nothing like a permanent enemy or permanent friend in politics. No, it's forever shifting. It's just one.
Do you believe that? No permanent enemies? Like, so for example, you said earlier that they have thrown dynamite at you.
They have.
Can you forgive?
Absolutely.
You've forgiven those who threw dynamite?
A long time ago.
When did they throw dynamite at you?
My first campaign my first rally in Port Harcourt, Ikwiri local government, Port Harcourt council, the very first one, dynamite was thrown. People started stampeding. I had to sit down, right, and refuse to allow anyone to stampede so that they would stop. And then they fired gunshots immediately after the dynamite was thrown so that people will run through a gate. So that stampede, if it happened, would have killed more people than
the dynamite.
Than dynamite if it was intended to kill. But when people saw that we were not running and that we sat and all of that, then the MC started saying, don't run, don't run, don't run. His Excellency sitting down. Then they looked around and they stopped.
What gives you the frame of mind to do that in that type of environment?
So one of the things that I had to do going into politics, I was very serious. I called my family, called my children, called my wife. And I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. And it's a dangerous terrain. And one of the things that I have settled and all of that was that my life is on the line. One thing that can happen in this whole process is that I can be killed. I will find myself in very dangerous territory, but let's understand that this is the sacrifice that I have put on the line for this. And I spoke to them and I said to them that, look, for you, my wife, we've spent, I don't know how many years together and all of that. You are competent in your own right completely to survive thereafter. Everything, my houses, everything is in your name. So nobody can come tomorrow and say that, oh, yeah, this belongs to my brother. But, you own them. You know everything. You know where I've kept you. Here, that's for you. For my children, I've done what I can do in terms of giving them the education and the confidence that they can survive. So I just said to them, you know what? This is the journey that I'm going to take. It is going to put me in danger. And so, as a result of that, I've been into some very dangerous places.
Is there any moment that you thought, this might be it?
So we went to, I think one of the most challenging places was in Opobo. When we got to Opobo, so as we were getting into Opobo, the person who was our campaign, who was leading our campaign manager in Opobo, had been arrested, and so they had kind of framed him. We thought he had been kidnapped, and we saw them driving past as we were heading to Opobo. I saw some men in black with guns and all of that, and the Sienna going past. I said, oh, we've seen him. So I called the car, someone behind us, and said, we've seen them, they should block them. So they blocked them. Anyway, long story, we turned around, we rescued him. But by the time we got, this was a big fracas. We apparently happened to be some policemen that were under the authority. We have different police in River State.
So these ones were under which authority? You don't want to say?
Let's just call it a special police group. But anyway, we were able to rescue the man from whatever was happening. But all of that kind of delayed the entire process of us getting into Opobo by about 2 hours by the time all this happened. Anyway, once we got into Opobo, they allowed, now River State, the waterfront communities where we come from, the design of the state would be one central road inside the town, usually just one road. Over time, they've created ring roads and all of that with sand filling, but usually it's one road, and Opobo is like that. So we went in, and we were going through the town. We came out, which we normally do from the beginning, and we start to walk, and the cars are coming back. And they allowed us to get in to the town properly, so the entire group was now in. And I got to a place and they had bottles that they had broken and blocks in front. And we couldn't move. And the next minute they were just throwing bottles and all of that. So we stepped back. But from that point where it started with bottles, the next minute from this side and that side, started opening fire, gunshots. They had blocked us at the back, blocked us in front. And so at this point, the police, everybody, my security and all were saying, get back into the car. It's your life. But I looked around, I looked at the women that had come with me, I looked at everybody and I said, no way. There's no way that I'm going to go, sit inside the car and allow all of these people to be exposed. And as long as I'm there and visible to everybody, then maybe it may just get into the head of somebody that if you take it to that level, then maybe it will be bigger. So I refused to go into the car. At that point, I knew that it was touch and go because you have bullets flying all over the place, stray bullets, God knows what, but I refused to get in. And so, of course...
You refused to get in?
Yeah, I refused. So we're there. What I just did, I put it on got on my Instagram live and started recording, and they were like, oh, Excellency, please now, be safe, go inside. But at this point, there was exchange of gunfire. So those security that came with me had to
also exchange.
So that, because if not, they would, So essentially, after a while, everything calmed down and all. And we now had to, then I'd call the CP, call different people, and what's going on here? So they then brought in some additional reinforcements, some more policemen came. Then when we had enough policemen, we now gathered everyone out of the place. Right? So I think that for me was one place where I knew that it could have gone awry. It really could.
Oh yeah, was it?
Yeah, that's the last election.
Does it?
That's the last election that we had.
I want to bring it back to what you said in the beginning about, listening to conversations with like Shehu Yaradua, your dad talking about Nigeria. I imagine the Nigeria they were talking about then and the Nigeria
very different.
Now it's very different where they are trying to bottle you and shoot you and dynamite you at the same time, where you spend a couple billions in an election that, for all intents and purposes, you knew was an uphill battle.
It was.
And where you have spoken to your wife and your family, your children, and say, I might die. You've spoken to your business partners and you've said, take the company, I'm going for 20 years to face Nigeria. How do you even relate those two things?
Those two things. An interesting conversation. So one of the things that I did in this run-up to politics and all, we talked about relationships. So I have relationships with older people. I have relationships at my level, and I have lots of relationships with younger people. And I've been to a couple of the founders of Nigeria, so to speak. Founders, and I asked them this question, same question. Hey, look, I grew up listening to all of you speak. This Nigeria we see today, is that the Nigeria you envisaged? All of them. From Babangida to Obasanjo, T.Y. Danjuma. The answer is absolutely not. And then I asked him the next question, what went wrong? What went wrong? Many things went wrong. Now remember that they were all very young. It's so easy to blame them, but really 30 years old, 40 years old. They did their best, what they could do, their best. But there was a transition, and that transition happened 1999, and that transition, many of us chose between let's just say in the 1990s, because 1999 was an event that happened. But the 1990s, between 1990 and 99, that period was a critical period for Nigeria. Critical. That's my generation. So I tell my people, I say, look, we're just as fault. You
guys opted out.
Exactly.
You opted out of politics.
We did.
Opted out of government.
Yeah, totally.
You opted out of partaking in the system.
Exactly.
And you went into business. And now some of you...
Full circle.
...are having to run back.
Full circle. It's easy to blame. So when people blame, they blame the elders, they blame them, they say, oh, they're the ones that messed up Nigeria. Every generation has its blame. My generation took a decision based on what your generation is seeing today, right? And many of today's generation, based on what they've seen in the elections, recent elections, have opted out. They've, Japan, Canada, this, that, Nigeria, we've given up on Nigeria. And I say to them, you know what, this is us 30 years ago. Exactly the same scenario.
It would only get worse.
Exactly the same scenario. And we opted out. What were we seeing then? Babangida step aside, Abacha coming in, this person doing that, the deal term for everybody who went into politics, 300 years, 180 years. And we just said, you know what, these guys are not serious. And we opted out completely. And we said, I remember conversations that we used to have on Nigeria, which said, let us take our destiny into our own hands. And when we said destiny to our hands, it had nothing to do with Nigerian destiny. It was go and set up businesses that we did. And look, God has been good. We have been extremely successful in that venture, but at what cost? At what cost? So when I sit back and I think about it, I just say, you know what? Those who opted out have a moral responsibility to fight for it. Yes. We have to. And so that's why I'm where I am. So yes, we're back. We're fighting. It may cost us our lives. They may tell us that you can't win. They throw dynamite, should look at us and say, you people are Ajepotas, you want to come in. You know, we hear all of those things. Yeah, we may be Ajepota outside. Inside, we're not. We're not cowards. We have a courageous moral duty to make sure that we correct these dynamics. It's been 30 years. Between 1990 and now, it's been 30 years of chaos. 30 years of chaos. But where we are.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that's a great place to end this because I truly actually I want especially the young people who are listening to hear you because too many are opting out.
Too many.
And it's part of why I do my show. It's part of why I have these conversations. I need the Ajepotas, the educated, the softies, whatever it is. We need more people to opt into our system. Otherwise, it's going to deteriorate beyond where we are even now. So.
And guess what? I'm your magnet, I'm your lamppost, I'm your sign, I'm the one showing you that this is the way to go. And I believe that with every day and every challenge that I overcome, it gives you the courage to say, if you can do it.
I have the courage to be bottled yet.
If he can do it, I can do it. And believe me, when you're in the line of fire, you will find out that you have more courage than you actually think you do. So get into the line of fire.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much. This was incredible.